Okay guys, so I'm going to show you guys how I basically did this video here, the new bumper for YD Pictures. You can see that. So that's what we're going to run through. I did it in Adobe After Effects. Now I did use some plugins. I used Optical flares from videocopilot.net, and I also used Element 3D, their newest plugin from videocopilot.net. They are effing awesome, so be sure to check them out. Andrew Kramer does a fantastic job. So let's just jump right into it. I'm using Adobe After Effects CS6. So we'll go new comp. We'll just keep it at 1080p and we'll go 7 seconds. Black backdrop. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in some of our assets. For this, I only used 2 assets. I used a picture of a city skyline. So all I did was take a normal city skyline, just drop the contrast hard, make it black and white, and then add an alpha layer to it. And I also used the moon that I just got off Google Images and made the alpha layer in the back, the transparency. So we'll bring in these 2 assets here. The first thing what we're going to do is just add a new camera right away, just because I like to do that. So new camera, I'm going to do 50mm because that's what I used originally. Ish. Okay. And then what we'll do is start off with the city line, the city skyline, because that is pretty much going to be our reference, and we're going to build off that. So we'll do the city skyline here. You can see that there's that white around it. I don't remember if I kept that in the final. We'll just leave it for now because it's easy to reference in the video. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a 3D layer. So we will show columns. How do you do this? Modes. Okay. And then we'll make it a 3D. Where is the buttons? Switches? There we go. Switches. Make it a 3D layer. And then what we're going to do is go to our 4 views. And we can see it. Oh, there's the front view, there's the top view. So what I'm going to do is just bring this and move it back a little bit in Z space. So maybe back to the back here, and that'll be fine. Then what we're going to do is we're bringing in our moon asset. So we'll grab our moon. I'm going to put it below the city line. We should actually put the camera at the top here. That's fine. And I'm going to make the moon also a 3D layer. And I'm going to move it back in Z space. I'm going to actually move it so it's behind the city. So there we are. We have our moon in the background. We have our city in the front. Now what we need to do is add the ocean. The way I did that is I went ahead and add a new layer, solid. I'm going to make this one bigger than the comp. So we'll go 3000. That's too much. 2500. And I'm going to make it square. 2500. And for this one here, I'm going to make it a shade of blue. Not like it really matters. Actually, we'll just make it black. Yeah, sure, whatever. Okay. I'm also going to make this a 3D layer. And I'm going to put this one underneath everything there. And what I'm going to do is we have our active camera here. What I'm going to do is add it at an angle to the city line. So it looks like we're going to try to make waves from it, okay? So we're going to go on the x-axis, rotate it around the x-axis, like so. So you can see at the slight angle there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down. And I want it so it's just touching the city line there. And then the way I simulated the waves was actual fractal noise, okay? So what we'll do is highlighting this, we'll go Effect, Noise, fractal noise. You can already see it's starting to look a little bit like waves. We're going to bring the contrast up very aggressively and then bring the brightness down. And then I'm going to put a keyframe here at the very beginning of my clip. So keyframe, and then I'm going to go to the end of my clip and add a full revolution. So it makes it look like the waves are moving. I'm just going to bring my working down to 1/3 just so we can speed things up. Okay, so also what I'm going to do is add a little bit of more of a rotation to it just to give the illusion. More selling it. We'll rotate it a little bit more around the x-axis. That's fine. Okay, also what I want to do is add a blur to it just to hide the waves. So we'll go select our layer, blur. And I'm going to go with the G blur and then just add a blur to it like so. Okay, so that's looking not bad already. Also what we can do is go and do a color tint on it. So color tint, where are you? Actually, I don't think I ended up using color tint before, but we'll just do it now anyway. And I want it to be really nice and dark blue. Like so. And then this guy can also be a dark. So then you really get that feel for the waves there. Also, what I'm going to do here is add a mask layer just to the edge of the whole wave, so the transition to the city line is a little bit smoother. So we'll just go like so. Boom, and then just make it really big because I don't want to mask out anything else because we might pull the camera out. And then just move this guy down a little bit so it's nice and straight, because waves shouldn't bend on the line. And then we will just feather the shit out of that one. And that's more of a smooth transition there. I'm actually going to feather it even harder. And that looks not bad. Okay, so we've got the waves, we've got them animated, so it's hard to see now because it's a lot of demand on the computer. But they are animated. And what we can actually end up doing too is adding 2 revolutions just so they animate a lot. So let's see what it looks like. So even now you can see that it looks like there are waves. Okay, also what we're gonna do is in front of the moon, I'm going to put a lens flare from Optical Flares. So we'll go new layer, solid. And we're actually gonna make this also quite large there. This here, we gotta name our shit because I'm gonna get confused. So this is waves. And then this is moon flare. I'm also going to make this a 3D layer. I want this to be behind the city line, but in front of the moon. Okay, so we got that guy, and we've got our 2 layers there. So I'm just going to bring it back in Z space so it is in between the 2. Good. And then I'll add the lens flare to it. So Video Copilot, Optical Flares. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We'll just pick one that looks good. Sure, how about something like that? Whatever. You guys can go through and decide which one you want. I'm going to go to screen mode so we can still see the moon in the background there. And I'm going to bring it down like that. And I'm actually going to bring the moon down entirely too. So we'll bring it down so it's sort of just peeking out there, and that looks fine. I'm going to add a slight transparency to the flare so it's not overly obvious, so it's just very subtle. Good. So we've got things looking pretty good. I'm going to just move my camera forward so we can have a better idea of how it's looking. So that's looking pretty close. Looks like we can see a bit of the moon in the waves, so it looks like I feathered that too much. So we'll go back to our mask and reduce the feather there, just because looks like that's punishing us a little bit, and that's not good. We just want that to be subtle. Okay, so that looks not bad. Now what we're gonna do is the 3D text. So you can add your new layer, solid. This one here, we're just gonna make it comp size, otherwise we will crash After Effects. So we've got it there. We're gonna go new layer as well, and we're gonna go text. And for this here, we will write bumper. Bumper. Good. And we actually don't need to see this, okay? And then what we're gonna do is Effect, Video Copilot, Element. And I'm just gonna rename this layer here Element, just so we don't get confused. And then what I'm gonna do is go under Custom Layers, Custom Text, Layer Path, Bumper. So then it knows that that's what I want it to do there. Then what we're gonna go is go set up the scene. And I'm going to extrude, and we've already got our guy here. So what I'm gonna do is just add a quick preset to it. We can go, I've got the Pro Shades here, which is really good. I'm gonna go with this guy, whatever. I'm not too worried about it. You guys can fine tune whatever it is you wanna do with that. And we'll just dump it in right away. Okay, oops, I forgot to see what it's under. Okay, so this is under the 1, so it's the number 1 model here. So we've got our active camera, we've got our bumper. I'm going to increase the particle look for that guy, so increase the size. There, and we could add some render settings, so ambient occlusion. I like this option, the ambient occlusion. It really adds depth to it. I'm just gonna bump it up really good, and the radius and the gamma really far up there, and then you're pretty much done. Then what I ended up doing was, once I've had the video rendered, I added a vignette around it, which I won't bother doing now. So let's just go back to the one view here, and we'll go full. And you can see it's coming along, right? So you've got the general idea of how I did it. I also added clouds in the background, and that's the exact same way I did the sort of ocean. It was a fractal noise. And then you can add the camera movement, which you got in the final video of the actual bumper that I ended up doing. So you'll end up with something very similar to what I got. You got to fine tune it to what you want. And it'll end up looking something like that. Now obviously I had my 1D pictures, I sort of fine-tuned the clouds, and I sort of blurred out the lens flare a little bit more so it was less obvious. I also ended up adding a glow to the moon itself, but whatever you end up guys doing, that's just the general technique, and you can fine-tune it to what you want. Thanks for tuning in guys, and we'll talk later.